So yeah, going back to the studio. Like literally like spin it back.
Straight back.
Straight back into the studio. I like to think that obviously the podcast is big. It is relatively big.
How many followers do you have?
So on over 2 platforms, over 500, which doesn't sound too many.
No, that's
but
huge.
The downloads now has broken over 20k. So
wow.
yeah. So obviously we will soon be at 100,000 downloads. The more episodes you do, the more things people can listen to. And then so this was an investment. And I do like to think that when people come in, especially somebody like yourself who's like breaking through into the whole fitness industry and the mindset industry and helping people achieve what they want to achieve, you come in and you go, oh, this guy's legit. Right. And that's the feeling. And I guess like you feel like a little bit mini celebrity for the day. That's the kind of vibe.
I already thought I need to be getting myself one of these. I thought, maybe I could get myself a little studio.
We're talking anyway. I'm going to leave that start bit in the episode because it was a nice little chat. But
yes, isn't it?
Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. We're back in the studio today. I'm not sure if you can tell. We're looking pretty swanky today. And today I'm joined by a new guest. Chloe Shortman is a fitness influencer. She helps women achieve their goals, body confidence. She's from all the way from Bristol. She's travelled down today.
Yeah.
And she is going to deliver us some unbelievable value on this episode. Chloe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Fitness influencer is one of those words, isn't it? When you say it, you're like, I don't want to be a fitness influencer.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I'm the same. You say you don't want to be, but we are.
Yeah, it's a difficult boundary to break, I think, because when someone asks me, oh, what do I do? It's like, do you say I'm an online coach? Do you say I'm a personal trainer? Do you say I'm like a fitness influencer? I think it comes over like a massive bracket. And I think, I don't know, you just decide what you want to be and then pitch it at that, don't you?
100%. And like we've gone for the 100% line straight away on the show. We've dropped it in there.
It bang. Away.
You've given me an opportunity to say it. So
done my research, Harry.
with the whole thing around me. So let's just go from the weekend. We'll get that in conversation straight away as well. The marathon.
Did you do a marathon on the weekend?
Did a marathon, yeah. Got my medal. Like in
go on,
pride
show
and,
us the medal.
Pride and like you get your hands backwards on these things. Pride and place on today's show. In fact, fuck it. I wasn't going to do it.
Come on, let's go. Just get it out.
We're getting it on. We're going to wear it. I did say I was going to wear it, didn't I, before?
Yeah.
But now I was like, I'm not going to. But now we've spoken about it. But here we go. The London Marathon is, you think about it, and I know it sounds like a bit of a cringy thing, and I think it's just the way that the whole fitness influencer, and I think it's just the way the fitness industry online's gone a little bit, is misinformation, people doing things that they shouldn't, saying things that they shouldn't, and it's like all linked in with, I'm just going to go like maybe like the Love Island crowd as well, and that's where it can get a bit of a bad rap, bad name. But for me, going from my journey, like from being 23 stone depressed to doing now the London Marathon, I want to influence people to believe that they can do something like that, right? And I don't think that should be seen or deemed as a negative thing. And I purposely I've never introduced anybody on the episode as a fitness influencer before. But I wanted to do that today to open up that conversation. Yeah. Because it's getting a bad rap and I don't think it should.
No, and I think it is a bit difficult as well because I think people worry, right, about what other people think of them. People worry so much. And I think especially when it comes to women my age, right, where there's a lot of social media, it's very prevalent. People are worried about what to say. People are worried about saying the right thing. People are worried about saying the wrong thing. And I think, to open up that almost bracket where we say we just talk about what we want to talk about and we come at it with our experiences, I think it's really like eye-opener. I think it's really fresh and I think it's really nice to do.
Yeah, what was it about becoming a coach that you really wanted to do? What was it around helping others that made you think that this was something that you wanted to do?
I think, do you know what? I think it comes back to my own journey. I think similarly to you, I think I've gone on one scale where I've been overweight, like quite overweight. I've been on another scale where I've been quite underweight. And I think finding that balance in between mentally has been so beautiful for me. And I think it's knowing that I can help other women get in that mental space where they're not going out all the time and just thinking about their weight and, they're going out with their friends and all they can think is, I look big in this, or I'm uncomfortable, or this is the only thing, like getting ready to go on a night out and all they're doing is running around stressing and not thinking, I can't wait to go see my friends. I can't wait to go celebrate my mate's birthday. It's just like, I look fat in that. And I want to pull women away from that and make them just feel confident and happy and sexy in themselves. And that's why I wanted to do it.
Because a lot of that comes from, again, the fitness industry, or even, like, it doesn't matter what industry, actually. Let's go with Hollywood or music industry and all of those kind of things. Of course, there are people like Adele, who promoted like the body confidence movement, and Lizzo is that the other one as well.
Yeah.
But in some aspects, and you have to be careful what you say with this. Like, you don't want to be promoting bad body health and bad health. And
wow, that happened with, you'll know who this is. They called her a Fat Amy, and she was on like all the Pitch Perfect.
Oh yeah, of course.
She lost a load of weight, and they said to her, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because that's your brand. Like, you are Fat Amy." And she said, "But I'm not healthy." And she was like, "This isn't about losing my brand. It's not about anything apart from actually being healthy. I don't want to be overweight anymore. I want to go and do workouts, and I want to be fit and cardiovascularly fit. It's not about, oh, I'm just fat and then I'm skinny. It's not about that."
Yeah.
And that was really cool for me, seeing her do that as well. But yeah, it's difficult when you talk about it as well with the words you use. I think there's a lot of trigger words nowadays that people are happy with, aren't happy with, and you've got to be so careful when you're talking about things, what you say as well.
How do you feel about that though? Because I'm a bit like you, it's catch-22, right? I think there's a massive space in the industry, whether it comes to mindset, mental health, fitness, where I've been coached by Paul Mort, right? Very alpha, very male-dominated environment in his Alliance program specifically. And now he does work with women as well. But the first thing that he ever said to me when I worked with him one-to-one was around, or it may even have been just watching one of his videos in one of the first courses I did with him.
Yeah.
And I say this like regularly around when people say, what was the biggest thing that got you to how you are today and where you are today? It was about taking responsibility. And I think sometimes, yeah, of course, life gets busy and things come up and stress happens and this happens and that happens. But as soon as you start putting the responsibility of where you are on outside factors and allow other people and other scenarios to dictate where you are in life, you then give yourself no control.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the biggest thing around like losing weight, dropping weight, becoming as fit as I am now and as strong as I am now, mentally as well, was that I took a hold. And some people don't like to hear that, do they?
No, because it's almost accepting that you're part of the problem. People like to almost think that, you know, oh, I'm really busy, or I've got loads of stuff on, or I'm really overwhelmed, or I'm really stressed. That's why, you know, I'm bigger than I want to be. And sometimes it's taking the responsibility of, yes, I am busy and I am tired and I am stressed and I am overwhelmed, but actually it's also something that I'm doing, which is causing me to be like that. And I think sometimes people almost don't want to sit in that space where they feel like they're also responsible. And it's difficult because I think there's never a right time. There's always going to be something. And I think so many people and so many women I talk to, they say, Chloe, I really want your help, but I want your help in a month's time when I've done this and I've done that and I've done the third thing and everything's settled for me. Guess what? It's not going to be settled in a month. It's not going to be settled in 3. It's probably going to be exactly the same. And it's about working around, okay, how do we have those moments of stress and tiredness and busyness and life being so overwhelming, but then work with that to make it work for you and find a way that you can almost have your fitness journey in that at the same time as well.
Yeah, if you look at your diary throughout the year, even if there's...
My diary's crazy.
Well, this is it, right? And like mine is too. And if we were to look at our diary and were to choose excuses of why we couldn't look after ourselves, it'd be so easy, right? Holiday here, marathon in the way here. I mean, I guess that is kind of in some ways, and in some ways it's looking after yourself. But what I'm saying is an excuse to maybe not look after my nutrition or not look after my sleep or my mental health, whatever it may be. And that's the same for everybody. Like Easter comes up, and then the next minute, you know, it's just the kids are off for summer holidays, and then the next minute, you know, you're going on your own holiday because that you've booked a trip to Lanzarote for a week or two, and then you want to enjoy the beers and you want to enjoy all the desserts and you want your 3-course meals, and that's cool. But you have to remember that time in between those events are the times where you can be looking to improve yourself to be a better version of you.
100%. And one thing I say to 100%, so I said it. I'm going to say 100% like so many times.
There we go.
But this is one thing I say to my girls, right? So say you're out or, you're going on holiday. It's not about adopting a mindset where it's like, I'm just going to do nothing. I'm just going to do whatever. It's about looking for opportunities where you can make a slightly better choice. And I think that's the thing. It's not being like, I've got to really restrict, like, I want to go on holiday. I want to drink beers. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to drink beers, but I'm going to drink a light beer, or I'm going to have a vodka lemonade instead of just like I think it's like the old moots that they're like 500 calories.
God, yeah.
But they're so good. But it's just about making little choices in different areas. And that's how you make the big lifestyle changes. And that's how you go from being all or nothing to actually having some sustainability and having some, I guess, median points in there.
Having balance, right?
Having balance. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
In terms of that, I was speaking to one of my clients the other day, and we were speaking about how we've gone into. So we're speaking about a little bit of a cut now for her. She's gone in. She's got insanely strong. She's insanely fit, and throughout the whole process, I think she's been with me like way over a year now, and we've nailed down like so many mini habits. I call them mini habits, and it's the first time during this whole process that now we've actually looked at specifically tracking her calories, because sometimes for clients you don't need to do that in the first, in this situation it's turned into a year, but prior to that it was about her managing her protein intake. So that was the key fundamental thing. It was like, right, let's manage this habit first, and that's now become a habit. And my point here is like, when you look at people online like yourself and I who are doing X, Y, Z, A, B and C to look after their health, it doesn't need to be you straight away. No. You can work on X, Y and Z first for 3 months, see what results you get from that, and then you can work on the next 3 habits, which can be improving protein intake or getting it up to the target that you should be hitting for your activity. It then could be, depending on whether you're putting on muscle, trying to maintain weight or drop a bit of weight, looking at calories. And then it can be, okay, well, what's your sleep pattern like if your energy's low? Let's see if you can actually turn your phone off an hour before bed and make sure you get your 7 to 8 hours, which...
Do you know what? People sleep on the screen time. And this is one thing that I've actually started talking to my clients a lot more about, is I'm like, look at your screen time. If you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, your mental health is really, really bad, and you're just feeling a bit down low, rubbish, look at your screen time. Is it plus 6 hours? You're telling me that, you don't have time to meal prep in the day, but you've spent 6 hours on your phone. I'm imagining 2 to 3 hours of that is at night when you're just doom scrolling. Like, look at that as the first habit you break, because that is going to impact so many other things that you're not even aware of. And it's hard. It's hard. Our screen, like apps like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Oh my, they're meant to be addictive.
Yeah.
I don't even mess around with I've got a TikTok account for my Train with Arcadia, but I don't actually use it. I don't know how to use it, and I'm not interested in learning how to use it because I will waste my life on there. But look at your screen time, because that's going to be probably something holding you back that you don't even realize.
One thing that I tried, and I say that very loosely with TikTok, but I've made it for people that follow me, and you can see the difference between my Instagram content to TikTok. It's so different because I've got no time, not because I don't have time to do it. I just mentally don't have time for it because I know how it's made. But if I don't use TikTok for 30 days and post a video, it'll get 5K views, 100 likes. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, that was worth it. I'll just like post again. 200 likes. Yeah, I was going to say. 200 views. Yeah. And then you're like, well, the whole narrative around consistency is key on TikTok actually is not right. Like, no. I think it's just you got to be on there. Well, I mean, I don't know if you do. I get caught in the odd like, what the fuck is going on here? Like with like people going live doing like, and there's just some. I don't think it's the place for us to be. No. Well, maybe it is just because of the reach, but
the reach is great, but
maybe it's the wrong audience because they're so young.
Yeah. And also I think it's difficult as well. What I find difficult with, say, Instagram or TikTok, right? Say you're in a certain headspace and you start scrolling on something and you click too long on something. So that could be something, I don't know, that makes you feel a bit rubbish or makes you feel a bit down. What then Instagram and TikTok do is they show then more of that content. So if you're a bit down and feeling a bit low and you see something and you stay on it a bit long, the next time you go on, it puts you straight back in that headspace. Yeah. And it keeps you there. And that's so toxic and it's so bad. But because you're just stuck in the scroll of things, you don't even realise.
I went through a bit of a like breakup before Christmas. It was a very loose.
We love a breakup.
Yeah. Well, but then there was this post on like it's attachment styles, and I clicked on it.
Yeah.
And then bang.
The breakup posts are the worst because like 1 minute you'll be feeling like, it's all like motivational and like you can do it and you're good by yourself. And then other times you get all these cute couple videos of them like swinging each other around and you just sit there like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Bit like Bridget Jones with your ice cream on the sofa kind of style. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Amazing. So when it comes to Train with Arcadia, why that name?
So my dad actually thought of the name. So I'm not very creative when it comes to names, right? And I said to my dad, I don't want it just to be Training with Chloe. I want it to be something different. I want to be able to build it. And I have a lot of vision for where I want it to go. And I'm also not sure that I always want to just work with women. Like I might want to work with men in the future as well. So I was like, I want it to be like a name. So I was talking to my dad and I said, I need something that is empowering. I need something that I can kind of promote. And he said, have you heard of Arcadia? And I said, well, what does Arcadia mean? And basically in Greek methodology, it is a place of utopia. It is a place of kind of like heaven. It's like rural, countryside, beautiful, serene. And I love the countryside as well, right?
Okay, yeah, nice.
And it's meant to be this like dreamy, ideal place. And so the concept of it was that women come to me with their dreams, their hopes, their ideas, and I help them to turn it into a reality.
I love that. That's really cool. And one thing I will say as well, just side note, is your first face-to-face pod. We've spoken about like the confidence and whatever, and it's coming across like you've been on a million interviews, by the way. Maybe it's just because you love to talk like me.
I love to talk, yeah.
Which is good. But why do you think you have this inner confidence and you've got this ability to be able to take people on this journey with you?
Do you know
where does it come from?
Do you know what's mad is I would say maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, I wasn't confident at all.
Tell us about that then.
So it's funny because I changed gyms in the last maybe like year or so. There was a new gym that was built near me. And so I've moved to that one. And my last gym was very commercial, right? And this one's more of like a privately owned gym. So people were filming, people were recording, people were using their tripods and stuff. And there was a lot more girls in like sports bras and there was a lot more influencers in there. So it felt a bit more comfortable when it came to kind of like filming, when it came to just being in the gym generally and feeling like I had my place there. Obviously that coincided with me going through a breakup, and it also coincided with me starting my online coaching. So there was a lot of like different changes happening in my life, and I think I was just like, it's do or die. Like I was like, you sink or swim. Like, and I just thought, there's no point now in being shy. There's no point hiding behind things. Like, have you heard the phrase? It's like when it feels scary to jump, that's when you need to jump.
Of course, yeah.
And that's what it felt like. I was like, I either choose to just be, I'm just going to have to do it and see what happens. And I think in doing the things that I said that I was going to do, it's helped me to gain confidence. It's helped me to gain that momentum to be like, I can do this. Other people are doing it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah, and I've worked with some decent gurus, let's go with those words.
Yeah.
And they say that self-esteem and confidence comes from the promises that you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
Low self-esteem and low confidence comes from those places of where you say you're going to go out for a walk in the day and then you don't do it.
And you don't do it.
And then your brain, like we're not like you can't, or you can. One thing that I like to do with people when you talk about psychology is almost think about your brain and you as like two separate things.
Yes.
Because your brain is watching and listening and seeing and like tasting everything that you do.
Yeah.
And it acknowledges everything you do. And that can be from the sense of like putting the news in your face. It'll go, oh God, world's a scary place, right? Or it can be like I just gave that example there, where you go, oh, I can't be bothered to do that walk that I said I was going to do today. And then it acknowledges that and it goes, oh, I'm a lazy person.
Yes.
And then as the other one is like your language towards yourself.
Yes.
Oh, I can't help but have a sweet treat. Okay, well, if we just change this language and say, I am in control of when I have a sweet treat, totally different way of doing things.
You shift the narrative.
Yeah, 100%.
One of my favorite quotes is, and I read it in a book and it's like, don't believe everything you hear, even if it's in your own head. And I freaking love that because I was like, we don't always tell ourselves positive things.
No.
We don't always say good things about ourselves. And something I challenge my girls to do is I'm like, look in the mirror and instead of picking out things you hate about yourself, all right, pick out the things you hate about yourself because that's what you're naturally, it's a habit, it's what you're doing, right? But after you've done that, sit there and go, what's one thing I like about myself? When I look in the mirror, like, what's one thing, pick out one thing that you're like, I feel positive about that. I feel good about that. And you start to kind of like shift up how your brain is thinking. But I like the phrase, don't believe everything you hear, even if it's in your own head, because we lie to ourselves all the time.
Oh, every thought you have is like, you have 60,000 a day on average.
Yeah.
So many of them are just nonsense.
Oh yeah.
If you were to, so I've been in a place where I've been in that like negative loop before, as we spoke, well, we spoke about downstairs actually before the pod. So when I was in that negative place and not very happy, it honestly felt like I was on, you know, like when you rewind a cassette, like, but you're probably not old enough to remember cassettes.
I know a cassette.
Yeah, but video players, you rewind and you play the same video again. You rewind and you play the same video again. That's where I was. But that was because of the things I was doing, the actions I was doing. My brain was watching what I was doing and they became habits. And it's about breaking that cycle of the rewind.
And it links back to what you were saying earlier about taking responsibility for like where you're at, and almost like, if you are allowing yourself to be a victim to a certain situation, being like, I'm being a victim to my own negative thoughts. Like if you, with what you were just saying there, oh, I feel like a lazy person. Well, why are you a lazy person? Why do you associate as a lazy person? You don't necessarily have to associate as a lazy person. You can be like, I'm not going to be a lazy person today. And it goes back to what we were saying, by doing the things you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up and go for a walk. If you get up and you go for that walk, instantly you've told yourself, oh, I'm not a lazy person. Or I wasn't a lazy person today. And the more of those things that you collect, eventually the more you start pushing yourself towards a person that isn't lazy and doesn't associate as a lazy person. In principle, I guess that's what you're doing.
I love it, yeah. And that's why I say it all the time. Within my program, I won't work with people unless they almost agree that we're not just working on your physical shape
it's
and
holistic.
your health. Yeah, this has to be a mindset thing as well, because you haven't got to where you are right now asking for help because you've looked after your brain or your body or both. Like this is we take on both at the same time and then leave, which I've wrote down in my notes here, is like you're changing lives not just for a short period of time. You've put in your bio that you want to help people for good.
Yeah.
And I think, again, maybe why, going back to our little link to the start about why influencers get like a bit of a bad rap, because my program's 100 days, but within that 100 days, they get every method and thought process and habit that they can take away with them then to use forever. Like this isn't 100 days of you being a good person. Like it sounds like they're coming out of prison and I'm trying to like become a healthier person, a healthier version of themselves. This is so you can be a healthier version of you and a better version and a more inspired version of yourself forever. Yeah.
But it's difficult because you've almost got to meet people where they're at. And, you know, in some of my worst phases and my worst states when I was really overweight and I was really struggling, if someone had said to me, Chloe, I can work with you for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to be a completely different person. I'd be like, I don't want to do that. It's not quick enough. I want change now. Whereas when you say to someone, oh, in 12 weeks, you are going to be the sexiest, most confident, fittest, best version of you. Oh, and you're going to have lost 2 stone. I'm buying into that.
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty. People are so ready for change, I think, when they come to us, that they want quick fixes and they want change. And that's why, unfortunately, so many of these influencers do get a bad rap, because it's just like, that's what I want, but I want that result. So I want the 2-year result, but with a quick fix of 12 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to kind of level it up and be like to people, do you know, we can do this period of time and I can teach you as much as I can in 12 weeks, but realistically it's going to take a little bit longer. And kind of leading them to that as well. So
with your body confidence and how you help others regain and find, or maybe even find it for the first time, right?
Yeah.
What are the tips and things that you do for yourself to ensure that you feel good about yourself on a daily basis?
Do you know, that's an interesting one, because I think the first thing that I would say is even people like me, which are helping women with body confidence, I'm not always the most confident person in our body, right? And I think so many influencers online, they will come on with their highlight reel, right? Oh yeah, I wake up every day, I love myself. Even all the Victoria's Secrets models and things like that, they have mad body dysmorphia. They look at themselves and they go, I'm overweight, or I don't like how I look. And I think a lot of the time it is that fake it till you make it thing. And it is that just reinforcing to yourself, like, if you can't find something, if you're constantly looking in the mirror and you're thinking, I feel rubbish, I feel down, try and find something that you like. Try and switch the narrative. Try and say, okay, maybe I don't like this today, but I really like this. And it's constantly trying to look for things that you're happy with or pleased with or you've progressed with, and training your brain in that direction instead of going down a more negative route.
One thing that's for sure as well, though, is like, 90 to 99% of these things that are put in magazines and whatever, all airbrushed and edited anyway.
Yeah.
And then you see, we won't mention names again, but then you see like really big influencers within our industry getting caught out for doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you just like head in hands moment, innit? Like,
yeah. And it's so funny because people ask me like, like, do you edit your photos? I'm like, I would not know where to start. Genuinely, I am so incapable of editing like, I'll put the exposure down on my phone and I'll just ruin a photo. My friend would be like, what have you done to that? And I'm like, well, I tried to play about with the exposure. She's like, you look grey. I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
You're supposed to be looking healthy, right?
Yeah. So I literally don't know, but I know, so I've done like a couple of photo shoots with some different brands because I do kind of like contract work separately. And one of the brands I worked with, it was actually for my sister, and she did like a Blue Bella shoot before she went to the last Olympics. And they said to her, she was doing she did one of the shoots, and they said, oh, those photos are really lovely. And she said, but I don't like my face in that one. I said, oh, don't worry, we can take your face from a different photo and put it on the body.
Wow.
And it was like, you can do that? It is mad. It's mad what they can do. And when you're looking at photos on Instagram, when you're looking at photos in magazines, when you're looking at any photo of anyone, you don't know whether they've retouched it. You don't know whether they've edited it. You don't even know if that's their face or if it's from a different photo. Bit
of a side tangent as well, but even with the rise of AI now.
Oh my goodness.
The photos that you can get from that, and even like, they could take, if they wanted to now, they could take my voice from this pod and get my face to say something pretty derogatory or bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that I'm not that big yet and I'm not that important, so hopefully they're not going to do that.
So please
but
don't do that.
Yeah, they could. And like, I don't know if you've seen like the ones of like Donald Trump saying like funny, hilarious things, and they've like reworked that. Joe Biden as well, and it's actually quite a scary place. And I think that's why when it comes to when people decide to buy what we're doing in terms of our coaching, it's so important that there's a relationship there first.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening around, maybe buying into a program or for better mental health, better mindset, losing a bit of weight, getting stronger, whatever it is, just do your research into that person first, I think would be my advice.
I think as well, like who you're coaching with, like ultimately it is a relationship, and I think certain people will get the best out of you and certain people won't. And you know, if someone came to me, like I won't take people on that I don't personally think we'll have a good coaching relationship with, because I won't get the best out of you if we don't gel, if we don't vibe.
100%.
But it's the same the other way around. You know, if you go with a coach and you actually don't like how they work, like step away from them, go with someone else. You know, you don't have to stay stuck with someone if you're not vibing, if you're not getting on properly, because it's a relationship of someone else trying to get the best out of you.
And you've got to be able, like I said earlier, you've got to be able to be in a position that you are going to accept that person on your check-in form or check-in video or whatever it may be, may turn around and say, like, if I've seen that you've missed like 3 of your 4 sessions 1 week,
are
you really into what you said that you, like at the start here, we've got your onboarding form, you said that you want to achieve X, Y, and Z. Your actions right now aren't quite matching it.
No.
So, and I think you have to be in a position to accept that this person will have to say that, or may need to say that at one point during your training program.
And I've said it like I'm not that savage. I don't want to come across like I'm super savage, but you know, I've said to one of my clients before, like, buckle up. This is about to be a savage voice note. I'm going to sit here and tell you what you haven't been doing, because that's what you're here for. That's what, you know, we're not here to be best mates. Like, obviously I want a good relationship with you, but I'm going to tell you some hard truths that maybe you don't want to hear.
Harsh truths.
Yeah. Because that's going to help you. And if at the end of the day you turn around and you say, do you know what Chloe said, like, it did kind of bother me at the time, but I've gone away, I've thought about it, and actually that's changed my whole life.
Well, it's a lesson, right?
It's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. When you can take those lessons away and then it gets you those results that you're craving, then it's well worth the harshness or
the initial like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was harsh.
Buckled up.
Yeah.
Got slated, got results.
I always give a bit of a trigger warning. If it's going to be a savage voice note, I'll start with, listen, this is going to be a savage voice note.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like it. So in terms of the stepping away from full-time employment then, what have been the biggest benefits you found within you from going as a coach coach full time?
I mean, so I'll start with so I was doing obviously my full-time job, my 9 to 5, and I started coaching, and I was doing that for probably around 9 months, right? And it got to a point where I had a complete stress rash come up all over my face. I went to the doctors. They were like, "Have you had any stress recently?" I was like, "No," thinking my whole life at the minute is stress. I'm doing so much. I started to have basically I knocked over a mirror. It fell on my head. I had like concussion. I had an eye infection. It went like massive, and it got to a point, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, "You got this stress rash. You got this eye infection. You got concussion." I was like, "You need to cut something out right now." Like I was like, "You're at your max capacity. You're at your max burnout. Like something needs to change, right?" So it was at that point where I was like, okay, I either go full force into coaching or I take a step back and I'm like, no, I'll just stay happy with my job. Now, what happens is when you get to that point, that brink, and you know, I said earlier, I was like, when it feels scary to jump, that's when you need to jump. What also happens is everything that you've been trying to pull away from gets instantly brighter, lighter, more attractive. So I was finding at the time like I wasn't fulfilled in my job. I wasn't completely satisfied. That's why I wanted to move to coaching. And as soon as I was like, oh, I might quit, oh, it became so good. I was like, do you know what? This job isn't too bad. Nice, stable salary, decent holiday, lovely team. Everything becomes really sunny. And it's at that point where you're like, I either do this now or I don't do it at all. And I was like, yep, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do it.
Links in with that, you can't have a positive without a negative, or vice versa.
Yeah.
There's no positive without a negative, right? And it's always about balance. Maybe you've been in a situation before as well in your life with like a relationship that of course this person's got good traits, but you know deep down within your stomach that there's that one thing that you can't tolerate forever. And I think it's the same with work.
With working.
Like, I don't know, there are other examples as well, but like with work, you do know that it's not a forever thing. I think early, especially like us, we have passions. We've got passions outside of our work in terms of coaching as well. Yeah. And obviously the podcast for myself and tadpoles for you.
Oh God.
We'll talk about the tadpoles shortly. But you do have that gut feeling, you do know. And I think when there is that like underlying, I think there's a book called The Chimp Paradox.
I'm reading that at the moment.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And in that, there's a paragraph on relationships, but he basically says like, if your chimp is unhappy with something in somebody and it's a trait that is not going to just go because people don't change, right? Or jobs don't change. It will still stay the same.
Is that the 3 categories that you're meant to write down what you like, what you don't like, and what's like a non-negotiable? And if there's anything in the non-negotiable, it's like...
Well, the chimp will, like, I always think about the chimp in the... You know when Homer has that... I think I put that in the group chat the other day, the gif of it. But the chimp's going to bang the drum or he's going to smash the cymbals about that non-negotiable thing forever. So if you're happy to tolerate that, like nagging thought forever, then fine. But it's there for a reason. Yeah. And it's because you're uncomfortable. Exactly. And when it comes to jobs and relationships, if there's that non-negotiable thing there that you know that deep down in your stomach you're not happy with, it ain't gonna shift.
It's not gonna change. And I think that's where I got to in my job. Like I was really blessed to work with such a lovely team. Like my team were great. I used to work for cancer research. Like super fulfilling. But I just in myself I was just like, I'm not completely fulfilled. And I was like, there's something out there. And I started doing the coaching and I was like, this is incredible and I love this. And I'm waking up every day and I feel like I've got a purpose and I feel like I'm just leaping out of bed and I'm like, this is what I want to do in my day. And it was at that point that I was like, I want to do that all the time. And I also want to have the freedom to do it when I want to do it, how I want to do it. It's interesting because you pull away from a 9 to 5 thinking, oh, maybe I'll have more freedom. And then you start working like 8 to 8. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I see. Nice. But that's all about finding balance and setting your own boundaries. And, because I have come from a 9 to 5 job, I'm still very much in the, do a day's work kind of thing, Monday to Friday. And I'm just finding my feet with how I make it all work. But so rewarding and so fulfilling. And
that's the beauty of being self-employed, right? I think you can look for, not as I'm there myself yet. And that's why I said to you downstairs, like it's a bit of a, you are like, how old are you, Chloe?
24.
Yeah, it's unreal. And you speak so well, so experienced, so mature. Life experience of breaking from that mold is like really going to be really key for you, which will lead me on to my next question. But it's a bit of an inspiration because when you have a passion like this for me, and the coaching for me as well, of course you want to make it a full-time thing.
Yeah.
It's about that. It is 100% about that cliff. The cliff edge sounds quite dramatic, but it is a cliff edge, right?
Oh, it is.
Where
I didn't sleep for weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for weeks. Like, why do you think I had a stress rash and concussion and an eye infection? Because it's scary to step outside your comfort zone. And it's so terrifying. Like, you got to think, like, I went to uni. I've been without money. You know, I've been in an unstable place. And then, you know, I got into this job and then all of a sudden I'm self-sufficient and I'm earning money every single month and it's super stable. And I hate change, which is funny to most people. They're like, you hate change? I hate change. So to go from something that's so stable and so secure and then just basically screw it all up and be like, yeah, doing something else. That was crazy. That was a cliff edge to me.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
What have you learnt about yourself? What's the biggest thing you've learnt about yourself during that whole thing?
This is this is funny, but I literally like to say to myself, I'm limitless.
Woo.
100%.
There you go.
I like to say I'm limitless. I'm like, whether you believe that fully or not, if you sit there and you're like, I'm limitless, you'll start making decisions as if you are. And I think so much of what you achieve in life is self-propagated. And
Great word.
I just think push yourself, because what's the worst that can happen? And this, I'm bringing out all the cliches here, but like, again, one of my favorite things, fell forwards, like fuck up. It's okay.
Yeah.
I've fucked up so much in my life so far. And every single time that I've messed up or screwed up, something good has come of it, no matter how bad the situation. And like, trust me, there's been some bad situations, but I've always been able to, maybe not instantly, maybe not in a few months, but looking back on it, maybe like a year or so later, I've always looked at it and thought there was a reason for that. And there was a positive that came out of that.
And that's I think, again, it links so beautifully into whole holistic mindset and an improvement mindset and building a resilient mindset, is that you have to be able to say thank you for those bad experiences. Otherwise, they'll run your life.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can look back with resentment, regret on these situations, or like a bit of fear maybe that this happened. But as soon as they're like, as hard as any situation is, I've said this before as well. And again, this is stuff that I've picked up from people that I've worked with in the past and listened to and spoke to on the pod, is that if there is something that you have allowed to infest within yourself, sounds like a really serious, but that's essentially what negative thoughts do about situations. As hard as that is, you have to break that cycle again. Yeah. The way that you're speaking to yourself about it. And as hard as it may be, find those positives. And like for you now, it's easy, right? You've looked back, you go, fucking hell, I'm limitless. I've done this. I've achieved this because of this negative thing.
But then the next thing comes. And then the next thing comes.
And that's life.
And that's life.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there's days where I do not feel limitless at all. There's days where I feel like shit. There's days where I have imposter syndrome. And I think it's like so many negative emotions that I experience as well, but it's trying to tackle them with a different mindset. And
here's a challenging one. If you're not getting some kind of imposter syndrome, or you're not feeling like you're outside of your comfort zone, you're not doing enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Mic drop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Tadpoles.
Oh, goodness. Right. You're going to make everyone think I'm strange.
Well, I mean, it's quite unusual.
It's very niche. I spoke about it with my nan. I took my nan out for coffee and I was like, Nan, I'm going to raise some tadpoles. And she was like, you all right? She's like, my nan's so savage though. Like, I told my nan I was quitting my job, and bear in mind, I had so much like concern about that. And I said, Nan, I'm quitting my job. She goes, oh no. I was like, no, Nan, it's a good thing. I was like, promise, it's a good thing. But it was the same with the tadpoles. We went out for coffee and she was like, that's really niche, Chloe. And I was like, I know. She was like, do people know you're doing this? I was like, yeah. She was like, is that why you're single? I was like, no, I don't know.
Tell it why though? What was the whole tadpole
basically
motivation? Yeah.
So last year, I love frogs. I don't know why. I just love them. I think they're really cool. And my dad has a pond outside and I live with my parents. And last year there was like hundreds of tadpoles and they all got eaten by newts. And it really upset me. I was really upset. And this year there was loads of tadpole eggs laid again. And I was like, they're all going to die again because all these newts started filling the pond. I was like, no, can't have this. So I said to my dad, I was like, I'm thinking about getting an aquarium and just rearing some. And he was like, my dad jumps on boards with all of my silly ideas. And he was like, yeah, go on then, let's do it. Took me to the aquarium. I was kind of joking. We got to this aquarium. my dad was like, right, buy it then. I was like, no, I was sort of joking. Like I was half joking. This is just for fun. He was like, no, come on then. I was like, all right. So bought this aquarium, took it home. I had no idea how to rear tadpoles, no idea what they eat, no idea. You've got to like filter the water. You've got to change the water. There's certain like conditioners you've got to use. There's certain microbes and bacteria that you've got to put in there. It's got to be a certain temperature. And yeah, I just went for it and put like 70 tadpoles into this aquarium thinking they're all going to die. And they all hatched the next day. And I was like, well, it was like interesting.
Yeah. So the eggs first. You had the eggs first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took the eggs from my garden, put them in the aquarium, popped them in my room. They're just chilling in my room.
Is that legal?
Well, I don't know. I guess they're my property because they're from the garden outside. I didn't think too much before I started doing this. Yeah. But, I thought they'd all die. And we've had three so far. I've put back in the pond.
Yeah.
But also, so I left, so there was maybe like 300 eggs outside. I took 70 in, or around that number, I guess 70. I don't know what's happened to all the others. I assume all the newts have eaten them.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm just going about my crusade.
You said about that when you released some back into the wild.
Yeah.
Three now.
Three so far.
So newts eat the mini frogs?
Do you know what? I'm not sure at what point newts stop eating the frogs. But please don't search it up. I'll get upset if it's like still at mini frogs. But I assume like when they're tadpoles, they're most vulnerable because they can't swim away or jump away so easily. Whereas when they start growing legs, they're easier to kind of run away. They've got a bit more of a survival chance. What does it say? Oh no, don't tell me. Up until like fully fledged.
No, we'll get this live information for the show because everybody's here for the frog.
On the edge of the seats.
And newt's pond menu. When living in ponds, they feed where they breed, hunting both day and night. They have blah blah blah, sticky tongues.
I'm just thinking of my poor 3 frogs that I've just rehomed back in the pond. I'm actually really nervous for this answer.
Fish, other newts, water boat men. There's no mini frogs yet.
No mini frogs. Okay.
They also eat other tadpoles.
Okay, so tadpoles, not mini frogs.
I mean,
so hopefully
they're safe.
Yeah. So I've got what's that? What, like 67 tadpoles left to turn into frogs?
And they're still in your little aquarium at the moment. So what do you have to do every day to look after them?
So every day, not too bad. Like I'll probably feed them like every other day. And then I have to change 3/4 of the water once a week. So that's interesting because I'm like carrying pond water through my room and then back out again. And then I have to clean the filter and then, just like feed them. It's quite low maintenance.
I think that's a lovely little side note for the podcast.
It's so rogue. It's so random. It's so niche, but it is very Chloe Shortman. So
well, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'd love to know what's going to be next on the whole stealing from wildlife.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
You have to get birds' eggs.
People are very invested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Birds' eggs.
Maybe no.
That's
that is illegal. That is illegal. Yeah. Don't do that. You can't even. Do you know what? This is one of the most bizarre. Like seagulls get a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
You genuinely can't legally kill them.
You can't shoot a seagull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that they do it is obviously they take the eggs from roofs and stuff. But it has to be so planned. Anyway, we're on a side.
We've gone on a tangent, but people love the tadpoles though. I don't think I've had so many people message me and be like, "We love the tadpole updates."
Well, and I can see why.
Yeah,
because it's
like
you say, rogue, unique,
Yeah.
and very Chloe Shortman.
It's very Chloe Shortman. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. We will go back to the serious element. I did say to you, and I do like to. It was a very last minute bit of research in terms of what would you class to be your kind of area of niche expertise within mindset, fitness, health, and all of those kind of. And you said around female contraception.
Yeah.
Lots of chat on podcasts that I've listened to around. The biggest one for me that I listened to was if a woman is on the pill when they meet their husband and then they come off it, their attraction towards that person may go down.
Yes.
Which I find is like scary anyway, because you get married to this person, then they realise, hold on a minute,
I don't even like you. Yeah.
That's the one thing, but also the hormone changes that this thing puts whatever it is, whatever contraception is, that's why I said thing, I didn't want to specify, can have on your body and your mood change, and how it can impact your view of the world, your view of yourself, and all of these kind of things is
massive.
Quite scary, right?
Terrifying. And I think there's not enough research on contraception, and there's not enough, I think people, when you go to the doctors and they say, right, I'm going to the doctors, I want to go on contraception, the first thing they'll give you is try this pill. And so many women just take that at face value. Oh yeah, that's what the doctor's given me and we'll just go with that. And a lot of women actually don't get on with the pill. Now, a lot of women do, and a lot of women it's really, really helpful for and it's useful for. And I don't want to give it a bad rep because it is an absolutely fantastic piece of science and it's incredible what it can do. But at the same time, I would urge people, like, if you think something is slightly wrong or slightly off with the pill that you're taking, there are so many other different contraceptive forms that you can go for and you can pick. You don't have to stay with the first one just because someone's given it to you. And I think I've been to the doctors a few times, like I tried out a few different pills. And I remember saying to them, like, I want to try the IUD because it was non-hormonal. And they said to me, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to give you another pill. And I was like...
Explain IUD.
So IUD is an intrauterine device. So you can get two types. There's one called the Mirena and there's one called the copper IUD. The copper one is non-hormonal. So they just insert it into your uterus and it sits like a little T-bar. And it just basically stops sperm from getting up there, basically. Yeah. Or the copper ions kill the sperm. Or with the hormonal one, it does the same thing as like a pill. It just releases certain hormones, but it's directly into your uterus instead of like orally. But yeah, so I wanted to try that. And I remember the doctor was like, oh no, we're not going to do that for you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to a different doctor's surgery and find someone.
You were on a mission. What was the effects that you were having that was making you want to go for this non-hormonal version of contraception then?
I don't know whether it's placebo. I don't know whether it's because I'm very interested in the science behind contraception that instantly when I started taking the pill, I was like, oh, it's making me depressed, or it's like it's made me gain weight, or, you know, it's done certain things to my body which I don't like. I don't know whether that was it and it was a bit of placebo or whether it was actually like a real effect that I was having. But I was definitely, I just felt like when I took the pill, I was really depressed. I wasn't myself. I was crying all the time. It was just awful. And I was like, my body is not getting on with that. Like something about that is wrong for my body. And I was just like, I want it gone. I just want it to be completely non-hormonal.
I'm very open to the idea as well that for men, we don't know the half of it. And that doesn't mean to say that like I'm being derogatory towards men, but I just think it's like a really common, it's almost like an expectation, right? When it comes to relationships and when you're that it's the woman that has to be on this thing to obviously stop you having kids with this person if you don't want it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then...
Do you know what's fun with that?
Go on.
So they started developing male contraceptives. And male contraceptives work towards, so they did some which were targeted towards spermatogenesis, which is when the sperm's like created, right? So it was looking at damaging the process of making the sperm, so they basically weren't functional. And they stopped doing it because men had side effects of low mood, depression, pain, and they didn't think it was viable to continue. Yeah, interesting one that, because if you ask any woman on any hormonal contraception, oh, so what are the side effects that you get then? I bet half of them will say low mood, depression, pain.
Yeah.
That'll probably be the first three.
And I think it's something that I've opened my eyes to, again, just through listening. I'm no expert on it whatsoever, but if I was to meet a girl now and get into a relationship with them and they said that they don't want to, a previous version of me would have been like, is that the cleverest thing to do? I wouldn't have been like, obviously...
No.
Yeah. But now I'd be like, okay, cool. We'll find out another way to handle the situation, right?
Yeah. And this is what I like urge people to do. I'm like, there's so many different ways that you can approach these situations. And, you know, you've got now like natural cycle apps and you've got
done that twice now.
Sorry, done that twice. Just bashing up Harry's studio. Yeah. Just like she came in, she bashed up my studio and then she left.
Yeah.
Real nice girl. I think there's so many different ways that you can approach it and target it. And I think it's just finding out what works for you and not just taking the first option and having that as law. I think that's what I just urge people to do. Love
it. Yeah, I think that's amazing. Good takeaway. You've come loaded today.
Yes, I have.
I had a request from Chloe. basically saying, can she ask me some questions on the podcast?
Yeah.
Which is an unusual take because Hannah, who came on last week or the week before, just took over the show actually and decided to take on the show for 20 minutes. And then, Chloe, you've actually asked permission to ask me some questions today, and this is your
it's my time to shine.
You, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've actually got it on my phone, so say it properly.
Is it one question?
Prep for you, yeah.
Cool.
What was your one question? Go on.
Oh no.
It was one question. Yeah. So I've actually, do you know how I've been like sprouting these phrases, don't believe everything you hear in your own head and fell forwards and stuff like this. Oh, you want a quote? So I've actually got one more quote, but which I haven't, funnily enough, quoted in this, but I was going to say, what is one phrase that you constantly repeat to yourself that either holds an ingrained belief for you or helps you get through difficult days?
Where did you hear that question? It's a great question.
It's my question.
Okay.
Didn't hear it anywhere. That's how I live my life. Through the little quotes.
Helps me get through the difficult days.
Yes. Something you repeat to yourself maybe on repeat. So like, as we're saying, like, you're limitless or, fail forwards. I've got another one as well.
It's there.
It's up here. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Am I giving myself 100% today?
Yeah.
Because I think that can fall into so many different formats. And I've got the 5 20% of 100%.
Yep.
Which I've like, am I treating myself like a friend or family member today?
Nice.
Have I done something that's taken care of my health and well-being today? Mm-hmm. And then from here, I'd probably forget a few of them, but they're ingrained in my program.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because not only does the 100% mold, of course, yeah, like, do we all want to feel 100% every day? Yes. Of course we do. We want to feel great. Every day we want to feel great. But we all know that there are those days where you don't, and that's where you fall back on the next set of questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it about today that I've not done for myself? So that would be one. And then the other one would be something that Paul Mort taught me early doors, and he always gets this one. It's if you're focusing on how you don't want to feel, you're going to get more of that feeling.
Yeah.
So like you say, those days where are difficult for me will be because I'm putting my attention where it shouldn't be. Like feeling, let's just go with anxious, feeling low energy, feeling sad or whatever, feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
The more you do that, the more of that you'll get. So then it's about reframing. How do I want to feel today? That's the question that I'll ask myself.
Do you know what's interesting about that as well is if you feel sad and you listen to a really sad song, how do you feel after you've listened to the sad song?
Still sad.
Awful.
Yeah.
If you feel sad and you listen to a happy song, how do you feel after you've listened to the happy song?
Always better.
Always better.
Always better. I am going to get them up because I want to get these nailed in my own head because it's quite a recent breakthrough that I've had. So the first 20% is I have taken action towards my physical and mental health today. So for me, that's doing 100% journal and doing some form of exercise. It could be genuinely a little stretch, right, on the days that I'm not training, or a little walk out just to get some sunlight. I'm treating myself as I would treat my best friend or family member. This is so important. It goes back to the language thing and how you're treating yourself. The next one is I'm tracking my wins and keeping journal focused. I think the journal side of life is something that's not spoken about enough because if you have a journal, I did a video on this a little while ago, but if you just go to like the works and they give you a journal, it'd literally just be like this, right? An empty blank piece of paper, and you're just supposed to write down what you're grateful for, which okay is cool. Or like then you're like, well, I don't really know what else to write. But when it's a scripted journal as such, and there are questions already there loaded for you, it's easy.
It makes you think.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why that's important. The next one is I'm currently being my own hero and taking responsibility. So that goes back to another point. And then the final one is I'm currently working on something I care about. Again, something especially, I think it does link in for men more so, like the care about thing and purpose. I think the purpose word comes in huge.
Yeah.
But then I don't want that to be because like women can't have a purpose. No, it's because like throughout history, let's go with that. Like it was the fellas that would go out and kill the mammoths, right? And then they'd feed their family. Now we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like as a guy, you don't need to do that. You wake up in the morning, you walk downstairs, you put your kettle on, you get your bowl of cereal, right?
Yeah. Like, it's a little bit different to you need to go and hunt.
Yes, exactly. And I believe that if you were to ask most people who were maybe not feeling great, low energy, like maybe say that they're suffering with some kind of mental health difficulty, okay, what are you working on in your life that you care about?
Yeah.
And their answer's no.
Your purpose. Where's your purpose?
Yeah. 100%.
It's where's your why? Where's your purpose? What's your driving force? And I think when you find your driving force, when you find your passion, that gives you so much energy to life, which is almost like that happy song or that happy thing that's like propelling you and pushing you forward from potentially that bad space.
Yeah. And like I said, I've been in those spaces, and this is why I am passionate about talking about things like what we talk about on the podcast, because it's built me to be where I am now. And those little again, we're going to link back to the start of this episode. Why I use purposely the influencer thing is like, why is it labeled as I want to influence people to come from a position where I was depressed, fat, not happy, low in confidence,
rubbish,
down, to be a version of their own version of what 100% is. And what was linking back to Sunday as well, before we go switch the podcast back to you, is I met every version of Harry Purdy again on that run.
I was going to say running. One of my best friends, she did a half marathon last year, and she was like, honestly, that is mentally the most difficult thing I've ever done. She wasn't even bothered about the physical side.
Yeah.
She was like, mentally, that just ruined me.
Yeah. And
so it's interesting you say that.
And it was just a reminder of how I have built this newfound resilience and how I have built this newfound confidence. It's by doing things that are hard.
Yeah.
Doing things that are hard and doing things, again, that I love, because it's about putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. But for the first, if I just tell for the first 20 miles of that marathon, which is mad to even say that, it was like I was in cruise control.
Yeah.
I literally had I thought that I had every bit of this
autopilot
nailed down.
Yeah.
I was like, if you look at my splits, like my coach was like 9:30s, go for as near 9:30s as you possibly can miles, 9-minute 30 miles, and they're like so accurate. That was like, boom, 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 and I was like, holy shit. I'm gonna get my target was sub 5. My dream was sub 4:30. And then mile 20 came, and I could just feel like my body just changed.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't in cruise control anymore. I was thinking about every stride. And then when I started focusing on the fact that I was thinking about that, it then started to become difficult.
Yeah.
And then my hamstring cramped in my left side, and I was like, little story about me, Chloe, is
Go on.
I am the heaviest sweater you'll ever meet when it comes to like really like vigorous exercise.
Yeah.
And obviously running 20 miles is quite vigorous exercise,
fairly,
right?
you could say it's vigorous.
But there's photos of me, I'll show you when we finish this. On my I had running shorts on.
Yeah.
You can see where where I've sweated and the salt from my sodium has just dried on me.
Oh,
so then of course I'm at high risk of cramp, and like again, the listeners who have followed my story will know that this has just been a thing. That's been a little bit of, it's like my nemesis. Cramp is my nemesis.
Okay, it's your kryptonite.
I've tried a lot of things to solve it. I've spoken to experts. I'm not going to say, like Precision Hydration, an amazing company. Really, they're local. They're from Dorset.
Oh yeah.
And they've got amazing products. They taste fantastic. And like the hydration stuff is great, but still doesn't solve my problem. So I think there's maybe a potassium or magnesium issue that I need to get looked at. And I've got somebody that's going to do a proper sweat test on me to find out what I'm losing when I sweat.
Okay.
And then I'll know next time I go to do an endurance event what I have to do to stop this happening. Yeah.
So you're at 20 miles, you've had your cramp come in. What was the rest of the race like mentally? Yeah.
I
don't want to go back there. So don't make me go back there.
It went from enjoying every mile for 20 to then thinking, fuck me, when's this going to finish?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I stopped at, I saw my cousin and my auntie and uncle at mile 21. And there's a video of me. I just walk over to my cousin and say to him, because he spoke to me a couple of days before. He's like, "How you feeling?" I was like, "I'm feeling good. I've done every bit of preparation I can. I've got everything packed, ready to go. My only fear, my biggest fear, is I'm going to get cramp and I'm not going to finish the race at the point." And I saw him, and I was like, almost hobbling at this point. And there's a video of me, again, like I'll show you, and I just go, "Mate, my left hamstring's just seized up on me. I think I'm in shit street now," basically. And I was. I'm in
trouble.
Yeah, I was in a whole lot of trouble. Because then we'll speed up the story, from it started in my left hamstring, and then you try and carry on running whilst trying to avoid it, but then that changes your running style.
Yeah.
So then you're putting extra pressure on on your
Yeah.
other muscles. So then both of my calves went. And there was one moment I was running through a tunnel really close to the end, actually, where I thought I got a bit of rhythm back, and both of my calves cramped up at the same time, and I thought I was going to like hit the deck, but I managed to like
Just crawl to the end.
I used some guy, actually. I was like, mate, just let me lean on you to stretch. So I stretched out on this guy. People were like encouraging me and stuff, but yeah. And then we got there, and I managed to like, I didn't run it. I imagine like your feet being as low to the ground as they possibly could be, like in like a run in slash, like, have you seen the old videos of the walking races in the Olympics?
When they sort of like fast walk.
That was me. Yeah. That was me towards the end. But when I finished, insane. Like, it was so worth. You think,
but mad respect though, because even like just finishing is an achievement. Just finish it. Even getting to the point where you think, I'm going to actually go for that, I'm going to start it. That is a huge achievement.
And I think there was one point, like I said, I met every version of Harry.
Yeah.
The one that was saying you can't do this. One that was saying give up. The one that was saying you're an idiot. Like one that was saying, like, that was annoyed at myself that I wasn't going to get that dream time of like 4:30 sub.
What were you saying to all of those Harrys when they were like cropping up and popping up?
I was ignoring them.
Yeah.
Because like you say, not every thought is true.
Yeah.
Not every question you ask yourself is relevant.
Yeah.
Not everything that I've ever told myself has turned out to be a reality.
Yeah.
And again, like I sit here now with this on, and it wasn't, was it? Like, I didn't need to give up. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I missed out on my dream time by 5 minutes, but fuck me, still 4 hours, 35 minutes to do 26.2 miles isn't bad for a 97 kg lad who suffers with cramp. But what it has done is it's made me want to go and beat that time.
And do it again. Yeah.
Which is...
If I even ran one marathon, I don't think I'd ever take the medal off. If I even ran one. And that's why I say, like, if you're sat there and you're like, even the fact that you've done it, even the fact that you've had that thought where you're like, I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna try it in the first place, that's something you should celebrate, because that's massive.
People were talking to me about it actually at work yesterday, and they were just saying they don't enjoy it. Like you mentioned it as well. And there's something, like you say, maybe it's like, but I genuinely do really love it.
Enjoy running.
And
it's like Marmite. I feel like you either love it or you hate it.
But I want to challenge you, Chloe, to just even a 10K, just sign yourself up for one.
I went out so I was going to do a 10K this year, and I thought, I haven't trained, like I can't do it, not sure. I used to suffer with really bad stitches and cramps. And this weekend I was just like, I'm going to go for a little run. It was sunny, it was really nice. And I just banged out 7K. And my friend was like, are you all right? And I was like, well, it just felt good. Just carried on.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it more than you thought you would?
Yeah, because I didn't stop.
There you go. See.
But it's a mental battle just as much as it is a physical battle. And it goes back to saying, if you just say to yourself, I hate running, I'm not good at it. But yeah, I can bang out a 7K. Like, what am I on about? I can't run, or I hate it. It's a mindset thing. But yeah, I was going to do the 10K this year. We'll see. One of my friends has signed up.
There's a Bristol one, isn't there?
There's a Bristol one.
Yes.
She signed up.
When is it?
May. But she's got a bad knee, so she was like, Chloe, if I can't do it, she was like, you're taking my place.
Sign up to it. Go on.
I can't. It's sold out.
Oh.
I know. I tried.
I'd have got you to do that live. Yeah, we'll have to find you another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what. There's something a bit. I had a guy called Jody Bovey on the pod, and he's a like mad ultra runner. He does like ones that are 5 days, 200 miles over mountain. It's insane, and there's something a bit sadistic about running or endurance. It's almost like, because you experience the low, like, and again, like, I don't mind admitting it, there was one point in that tunnel at the end where, like, so I had hip flexor cramp, which is like insanely intense, hamstrings, calves, everything just blew up on me basically at the end, and hence why I'm in a bit of doo-doo still now.
Bit of pain.
Yeah, but there's something about those lows that make it worth it, because you find those sides of yourself, the Harry that was 23 stone, the Harry that couldn't run a mile, the Harry that had no confidence, the Harry that used to tell himself that he couldn't do things. And then the new version of me always proves them wrong now. And there's something quite like...
You sit there with your medal, right? And that is just a clear sort of... It's a clear, obvious sign, like, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think if you pull yourself back to a headspace or a place where you were that person, you almost test, well, have you really changed? Are you really different? And that's so empowering to be able to get to that place and be like, nah, that's not me anymore.
Bit Gogginsy, but he says, just on a final note before we wrap up, he says, and this is some of the things that I've taught my clients who have wanted to get some running coaching from me because I've done what I've done now, is that, again, it's to do with your thought process. Even if you think you can't go further, you can still get one leg in front of the other.
Yeah. Your mind gives up way before your body.
Yeah.
Massively. They used to say that to us when we were doing the synchro training, if we were like underwater and struggling.
We've not really spoke about that.
Another time. But they used to say that to us. They were like, your mind will give up before your body does.
And
your body can last so much longer.
Well, and again, I don't mean to go over on the point, but I was in fucking severe pain during that last 5 miles. Hard. It was harder. I said in my little video after, it was harder than the ultra, just because it was so intense for 4.5 hours. And then you get to the finish line and you get that overwhelming sense of feeling. It just makes it all worth it.
And I bet everything else just washed away, and it was just like pure positive runners high. This is great. Yeah.
Absolutely unreal.
And that's what you do it for.
Running around the mall at the end, and you see Buckingham Palace, you go past that gold statue, and then you see the finish line, and I was just like embracing the finish line. There was like a stand full of people. I was just waving at them and they cheer at you, and it's
like hobbling along.
Oh yeah, it was. And I look back at the video of me, because I thought, God, that was not the most glamorous of finishes. I look back at the video of me finishing and I'm like, oh look, I don't look that bad. What's on about?
But also, like, I've just run a marathon. Like, you're not meant to look like, if you look glamorous at the end of a marathon, what are you doing?
Well, I mean,
you're a crazy human.
When you look at the pros and the top, like, it is, I know they're pros for a reason.
Yeah.
They're running 30-minute 10Ks. Like, no. But consistently.
Mad.
It is insane. Chloe, we're coming back to you now.
Yes.
You've asked your one question only for the podcast, which I appreciate, by the way. It's a good question.
Good.
It allowed me to drop my 20% in there as well.
Love it.
2 questions that always finish the show.
Okay.
We're at 1 hour and 10 minutes early already, which
Told you I'm a chatter.
Well, yeah, but these, like I said, these face-to-face episodes, they just allow you to really get into good chat and get to know the other person really well. But the first question I like to ask people before we end, you've done your research, you may know what's coming. What is next for you, Train with Arcadia, and your life over the next, let's go with 3 years?
Gosh, that is a big one. Do you know what the real answer to that is? I don't know. I've spent so many years of my life pigeonholing it into this is what's going to happen next, and the next 5 years are going to look like this. And at the moment, it's just like, do you know what? Just let's see what life's got for me.
It.
Yeah. I want to expand the team. I want to build. I want to build more of a community with my clients. And I just want to keep improving. I want to keep making things better for them. And hopefully in a couple of years' time, have a really successful coaching business, which helps hundreds and hundreds of women.
Insane. Absolutely love it. And then the final question for today's podcast is, what is the greatest bit of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I like, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fuck up. Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. And don't be afraid to do it in front of other people. Because at the end of the day, you get nowhere from not failing. The biggest periods of progression in my life have come after a quote unquote failure. They're always the most progressive. So don't be scared to fail.
Boom. I love that. Chloe, where can people come and find you if they want to come and find out more about you and your coaching and all of those kind of things?
Social media is Train with Arcadia, Chloe Shortman, Train with Arcadia. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I am on TikTok, but probably Instagram's the best place to find me at the minute.
Insane. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please go over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and drop us a 5-star review. If you are watching on YouTube, hello, give them a little wave, Chloe. Hello. Below here somewhere, like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm trying to grow this YouTube thing. It's on a bit of a back burner, but if you could do that for me today, or do that for us today, it would mean the world, because then it'll go around and people will see what value we're offering as well. Final little note, if there's something that's touched you in terms of like the mindset thing around it, I do give away the 100% journal for free, and I'll drop that in the show notes for you to be able to click and download, and it may help you with any struggles you're going through right now. I'll see you with a new episode every Friday. Take care.
Thanks, Harry. Bye.
Stop.